At some point, you realize something. You're always the one texting first, always the one checking in, always the one making sure the other person is okay. So one day, you just stopped, quietly. No announcement, no explanation. You put the phone down and waited, and nobody noticed. And that silence told you everything you needed to know, because you weren't always like this. There was a version of you that was all in, the one who remembered everyone's bad days and checked in after, the one who sent the voice note, initiated the plans, kept the friendship alive basically by yourself. You weren't doing it to be needed. You genuinely cared. That was just who you were. But here's what was quietly happening on the other side. Every time you were going through something, really going through it, the phone was still. Nobody checked in. Nobody sent the voice note back. You were everyone's person. And you didn't really have one. And you didn't explode about it. You didn't send the passive-aggressive text. You just slowly stopped. And now people call you distant, cold, hard to reach. But you're not cold. You're tired. And there's a real difference. And your brain actually has a very good reason for doing this. Neuroscientists put people in brain scanners and watched what happened when they were deliberately left out. Not of anything serious, just a simple ball-tossing game. And what lit up was the anterior cingulate cortex, the exact same region that activates when you break a bone. Researcher Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA confirmed it. Being excluded, being ignored, being the one who always reaches out and never gets it back. Your brain processes that as physical pain. Not metaphorical pain, actual measurable pain. So when you stopped texting first, your brain wasn't being dramatic. It was protecting you from something it had already learned hurts. That's not sensitivity, that's your nervous system doing its job. But here's where it goes deeper. Because for a lot of people, this pattern didn't start with a friend who stopped replying. It started way earlier. Maybe you were the kid who called out for someone and nobody came. Maybe you learned early that needing people was the fastest way to get disappointed. Maybe vulnerability got met with silence or dismissal enough times that your brain quietly built a rule: don't reach out first. That way you can't get hurt. Psychologist Bowlby spent decades studying this. He found that the way connection was responded to in childhood becomes the blueprint for every relationship after. You didn't decide to stop reaching out as an adult. You were taught to, a long time ago, by someone who probably didn't even realize they were teaching you anything. That's not a character flaw. That's a very old wound doing its best to protect you. Now here's what I want to be honest with you about. There are two versions of this silence, and they look identical from the outside but feel completely different inside. The first is a conscious choice. You feel clear, calm, you know your limits, and you're protecting your energy. That's self-awareness, that's healthy. The second is a shutdown. You feel numb, disconnected. You didn't really choose this, your nervous system chose it for you, and you're not at peace with it, you're just frozen. One of those is strength. The other is a sign you might need something, a conversation, some support, a small pushback toward people, only you know which one you're actually in. But it's worth being honest about it. But for the people who made a real, conscious choice, here's what's actually true about you. You didn't give up on connection, you got honest about it. Most people keep pouring into relationships that have been empty for years. Because stopping feels like failure, you stopped. And yeah, some people fell away. But the ones who noticed, the ones who reached back, those are the ones worth keeping. Psychology says humans need three things to feel okay: autonomy, competence, and connection. Most people see you pulling back and assume you gave up on connection. But that's not what happened. You stopped giving your energy away for free. You started choosing where it actually goes. That's not isolation, that's finally having standards for how you get treated. Here's the line I want you to sit with. You didn't stop texting first because you stopped caring. You stopped because you finally started caring about yourself as much as you cared about everyone else. And there's a real difference between going quiet because you gave up and going quiet because you're done performing closeness in relationships that only exist when you maintain them. One is losing, the other is clarity. So let me say this clearly. You are not cold, you are not broken, you are not someone who is incapable of love or friendship or deep connection. You are someone who gave generously for a long time and didn't get it back. And instead of becoming bitter and loud about it, you just quietly raised your bar. That is not something to fix. The right people, the ones who are actually worth your energy, they reach back. They initiate sometimes. They notice when you go quiet and they check in. If someone fell out of your life when you stopped being the only one trying, that's not a loss. That's information. Harvard's longest happiness study found one thing after 75 years of data. It was never about how many people you had. It was always about whether the ones you kept actually showed up. So no, you're not pushing people away. You're just finally letting the wrong ones leave and making space for something real. If this hit somewhere real, share it. Someone needs to hear this today. Subscribe for a new video every week. Stop chasing, start choosing.